And so then I said to myself, well, maybe this mistake is really an opportunity in disguise. And I quit. And now here I am over 2 years later in a much happier place in life. Why do we treat mistakes as being wrong, as something to be avoided at all costs, and to punish ourselves over if we do make one? Fear. That's why. It's fear of looking foolish, fear of being judged, and fear of losing control. Fear is a real pain because it makes us expend our energy on what ifs instead of using that energy to do something positive for ourselves and the world. I made a mistake at work a couple of years ago, and I could have just stayed and gotten into trouble, then moved on, but something started gnawing away at me. And so then I said to myself, well, maybe this mistake is really an opportunity in disguise, and I quit. And now here I am over 2 years later in a much happier place in life. Because we need to give ourselves permission to make mistakes every now and then, instead of trying to avoid them. How do you do that? It's about choosing your mindset. If you choose to view mistakes as being something negative, then you're going to do whatever you can to avoid making them, and that will mean you're less open to trying new things or different approaches. On the other hand, if you choose to see mistakes as an opportunity to learn and grow, you're going to be so much more likely to give things a go and to be forgiving of yourself if and when you inevitably make a mistake, which will then make it much easier for you to bounce back. Now, just because you make the choice to view mistakes positively, that doesn't mean that it will be easy or straightforward. It takes time. So make a daily commitment to be the best you can be and to be wise enough to learn the lesson when things do go wrong. Be patient with yourself and give yourself the permission to make mistakes. And don't let fear hold you back from living your best life and doing what you want to do. Okay, so let's say that you've made a mistake. Now what? How do you get through it? Well, if you think I'm going to offer you a quick fix, then I'm sorry to disappoint you, but there isn't one. Mistakes tend to be directly linked to our insecurities and our vulnerabilities, and it's not like you can just flick a switch and be immediately fine with having made a mistake. I'm sorry to break it to you. There are, however, a few things that you can consciously do in order to deal with a mistake. First, acknowledge it to yourself. Self-awareness is really important because it's about being truthful with yourself. Denial does nothing but harm. Acknowledge that the mistake has happened and then accept it. Second, if it's a mistake that has involved other people, then acknowledge it to them and accept responsibility. Own it, apologize for it, and put it right. Now, whether or not the other person accepts your apology is totally out of your control, and you need to accept that fact. You cannot make someone forgive you, and you have to be prepared that it may take them some time to come around, if at all. If that's the case, give them space and let them process it, however long that might take. It is what it is, and you have no control over it. All you have control over is you. In other words, your thoughts, feelings, and actions. The third step in dealing with making a mistake is forgive yourself. I know it's easier said than done sometimes, but you need to forgive yourself before you can move forward. A few years ago, a friend of mine pointed out to me that I would quite often say things like, I can't believe I did that, when I was at the height of my anxiety and depression. And it was a sign that there was a lot of stuff that I just hadn't forgiven myself for. Being more aware of that and then challenging the judgmental little voice in my head so that I could start to let go of a lot of the stuff that I was holding on to was a real step forward for me in terms of overcoming the worst days of my condition. You owe it to yourself to forgive yourself so that you can move forward. Fourth, reflect in order to learn the lesson. Then, learn the lesson so you don't do it again. Give yourself some time and thinking space to seriously consider what this mistake can teach you. Dig deep and get to the true cause of your feelings. Because if you just deal with what you're feeling on the surface, it's like treating only the symptom instead of the entire disease. There's an anonymous quote that goes, "There's nothing wrong in making a mistake as long as you don't follow it up with an encore." Mistakes are how we learn, but we shouldn't be repeating them if we are growing. So learn the lesson, make the change, and take the next step on your journey. And the fifth and final step is move forward. Keep your eyes ahead and take the next step on your own journey in life. Because you cannot change the past. All you can do is accept it, learn from it, and release it. Now, that doesn't mean that you act as though nothing ever happened, but it means that you let go of all the negative feelings attached to whatever it was that happened. Never let fear of making mistakes or negative self-talk or overthinking in terms of mistakes that you might have already made, never let that stuff hold you back from taking positive steps forward for the sake of your well-being. Well-being equals being well by being true to yourself. So, no fear and no regrets. So let me know in the comments below how you're going to apply these tips to create your own better mental health. And if you made it all the way to the end, then leave me a seedling emoji, because mistakes are an opportunity to grow. Want more advice? Click here to subscribe to my channel for more weekly videos about better mental health every Wednesday. And you might also find this video helpful to watch next. And join me every Sunday for the Let's Talk About Mental Health podcast, full of even more practical advice. It's linked in the description below. Thanks so much for joining me today. Take care and talk to you next time.